Laylatul Jum'ah Mubarak. My goodness, we're in the month of Rabiul Akhir. So it's the 3rd of Rabiul Akhir, 1442. We're going to start with Qur'an. And as I said, we were going to do each of the chapters or the surahs beginning with Surah Al-Fatiha. We looked at Surah Al-Baqarah yesterday, but I cannot move forward from Surah Al-Baqarah without looking at what is possibly the greatest ayah of the Quran, as described by the Prophet. He describes it as the Sayyidul Ayat, the chief of all the ayat, and that's Ayatul Kursi. Ayatul Kursi is Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 255. Okay, 50 words, 50 blessings. I repeat again, 50 words, 50 blessings. If you want to be protected all the time, this is what you got to read. The first 4 ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, which is Alif Lam Mim Dhalikal, you know that one, right? So you got to recite that. Ayatul Kursi. Then you've got to recite the 2 ayahs that come after Ayatul Kursi, 256 and 257, and then Amana Rasul, the last 3, and that just protects you totally. You know, Abu Dharr Ghifari was a companion of the Prophet, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, give me one ayah, like the greatest ever ayah. And the Prophet told him that everything you can ever imagine is in this ayah. It has the essence of divinity. He said it's absolutely phenomenal. So you know what, you got to learn it. Let's look at some of the benefits of this ayah. Okay, see if you can sort of use them. So first of all, your memory will increase. You know, I had a teacher, and you all know him, Marhum Mullah Askar. He was phenomenal. And I used to tell him, how can you remember all this on the mimbar? I mean, he just reeled off ayat after ayat after ayat. And he said, I'll tell you a secret. And I thought, okay, good to know secrets. And he said, every Friday, from Fajr to Dhuhr, just keep on reciting Ayatul Kursi, and you'll have the memory of a wizard. And then I found it in the ahadith, and I thought, yep, good secret. If you recite it for your marhumin, it brings nur, light, energy into their grave. It gives you ease at death. Now, you know, if you don't recite something regularly, you're not going to remember it when you're dying. At least if you recite it regularly, that will come first in your head. It's protection when you leave home. Allegedly, you get 2 by 2 angels. And I say allegedly, but it's really true. So you get these 4 bodyguards all around you. And you know what? If you recite Ayatul Kursi, then the angels do istighfar. They ask for forgiveness for you. That's just awesome. Right, let's go over this ayah, because I absolutely adore it. Now, I've put it in a symmetry. If you look at the screen, it's like a rainbow, and I'll explain that in a minute. But right now, I'd like to go through each of the words. So, Allahu, Allah. Allah is Al-Ilah, the one God. You know, that's what Allah is. So Allahu la ilaha illahu. There is no God but He. Ilah is one to be loved or worshipped or obeyed. Or maybe I should say loved, worshipped and obeyed. Fir'aun liked to call himself Ilah. He wanted to be obeyed and he wanted everybody to pay allegiance to him. But Allah says, Allahu la ilaha illahu. Allah, there is no God but Him. Al-Hayyul Qayyum. Al-Hayy is the living. There is no life outside Him. All live because of Him. Qayyum is the ever-standing, He who ensures that everything is standing. He constantly watches that nothing falls apart. In other words, He's the maintainer. Sayyidah Fatima used to say that if you are really, really stuck, then just recite Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. Hold on to it at times of difficulty. Just keep on reciting Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. So the first part of this ayah is Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. We're going to divide it into 9 parts, okay? So 1, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. La ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. That's the second one. What doesn't take over? Sina wa nawm. Sina is that which comes before sleep. You know that excessive tiredness when your eyes are sort of closing and you're thinking, and you have to put matchsticks in your eyes to keep them open. Nawm is sleep itself. So Allah says, neither sleep nor tiredness take over. So no tiredness, no sleep. Man dhal ladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi'idhnik. Man dhal ladhi, who would dare, who would challenge. Yashfa'u, make a case. Indahu, with Him. Illa bi'idhni, except with Him. Who is there? Who will make a case against Him without His permission? Who will challenge Him? Nobody. Now, that was 4, wasn't it? يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ. He knows what is before them and what is after them. So he knows everything, past, present, future. He knows absolutely everything. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. They have no knowledge of encompassing his knowledge. Even today, nobody even knows the human personality. He says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ. They ask you about the soul. You know very little. So about him, you don't know anything about him. وَسِيَ كُرْسِيُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Wasi is like spread out wide. His kursi is the seat of divine knowledge. His seat of divine knowledge, wasiya kursiyu, it extends over the heavens and the earth. وَلَا يَعُودُ حِفْظُهُمَا. And it doesn't tire him to look after it all. وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. Oh my goodness. And he is the most high, the most mighty. So now let's see if we can put these words together. Okay? الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم. Number 1. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه. Got 4 on this hand. Okay. Then you have 1 in the middle. Which was? Do you remember which one that was? See if you can tell me. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم. You put that in the middle. Nobody knows. He knows basically. He is the only one who knows what is before and what is after. I'll repeat again. He knows what is before them and what is behind them. So before them are these 4 things. You remember that? Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum. La ta'khudhu sinatun wa la nawm. Lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Man dhal ladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi'idhni. So you put that in the middle. Now you look at the last 4 sections. He says, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. Nobody knows, nobody can comprehend anything of his knowledge. وَسِيَ كُرْسِيُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. His seat of divine knowledge extends over everything, like it's just everywhere. Next one, you tell me. وَلَا يَعُودُ حِفْظُهُمَا. To look after them doesn't tire him. وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. He's the most high, the most mighty. Now put 1 and 9 together. Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum and al-aliyyul azim. So 4 attributes. Ya hayyu, ya qayyum, ya ali, ya azim. Keep on reciting those. Those 4 go together. Right, the next one. Sleep or drowsiness doesn't take him over. Now look at number 8. It doesn't tire him to look after it. Both of them go together. The third one is lahu ma fis samawati wal ard. Everything in the heavens and the earth belong to him. Look at number 7. He said, وَسِيَ كُرْسِيُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. His seat of knowledge extends over the heavens and the earth. Can you see how they go together? And finally, the last 2. مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. Who is there who can intercede except by his permission? And then he says, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. None can comprehend his knowledge. So nobody can do shafa'ah. Nobody can intercede without his knowledge. It's phenomenal. Try and look at that rainbow. Print it out. It's on Fatima. And then try and understand how we work through it. Okay. So can I have a salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. We're going to look at Dua al-Kumayl from where we left off. So today's section, we're going to look at وَكُنْتَ أَنْتَ الرَّقِيبَ عَلَيَّ مِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ. Now, this particular place where you say وَكُنْتَ أَنْتَ الرَّقِيب is from Surah Al-Ma'idah. That's Surah number 5, Ayah 117, which actually means you are like the watchman. You're like the watchkeeper. If I can say, from behind them, وَالشَّاهِدَ لِمَا خَفِيَ عَنْهُمْ, and the witness of what is hidden from them. In other words, you have a 360-degree look, just like Ayatul Kursi said. وَسِيَ كُرْسِيُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. His seat of knowledge goes over the heavens and the earth. So the same thing over here. What it's trying to say is that he has a 360 look over us. It's like the alarm system all over everywhere. So he can see it. وَبِرَحْمَتِكَ أَخْفَيْتُ. But it is because of your mercy that you have concealed all the things you know about me. Some of the things are not very nice. And then we say, وَبِرَحْمَتِكَ أَخْفَيْتَ, which is exactly what I said. Sorry, I repeated it. وَبِفَضْلِكَ سَتَرْتَ. It is through your grace that you have covered it. God, there are things that I don't want anybody else to know. And he said, it's through your grace, Ya Allah. Now we say, وَأَن تُوَفِّرَ حَظِّي مِن كُلِّ خَيْرٍ أَنزَلْتَ. And I ask you to send down upon me an abundant share of every good, absolutely every good. أَوْ إِحْسَانٍ فَضَّلْتَ. Any kindness you can give me. You know, kindness that you give to everyone, give to me, please. أَوْ بِرٍّ نَشَرْتَ. Bir is goodness, righteousness, and the goodness that you unfold. In other words, you're saying, Ya Allah, you know, all the bad in me cover. The good, make it really a lot. Aw rizkin basatta, and the sustenance you give me. Spread it wide, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all sorts of sustenance. Ya Allah, give me lots of it. Aw dhambin taghfir, and forgive my sins. The sins that you forgive. Aw khata'in tasru, and the mistakes that you cover. It is so phenomenal. Look at the things Allah does on us. He hides all the things that we don't want anybody to see. If we do a little bit of good, it makes, you know, you think, my God, I've done a lot, or we haven't. There's a wonderful story about Prophet Dawood was once sitting in his mihrab, which means he was praying in his namaz room as such. And he felt so good about it. All night he's praying. And then suddenly, he comes out and he's feeling really good about himself. Oh, he's prayed all night. And there's a little frog outside. And he said, Ya Nabi Allah, Prophet of Allah, you look so happy with yourself. He said, you know what I've done all night? All night I've prayed to Allah. And he said, Ya Nabi Allah, all night I pray to Allah. I pray to God. I worship Him. I do His subhan. That means I declare His perfection. I thank Him. And then every day, from morning to night, I stand here at the pond and I look up, hoping that I will become the sustenance for a bird. Prophet Dawood felt, oh my goodness, I can't do that. So when we think about this, my goodness, this God is so amazing. So let's read Dua al-Kumayl. You ready? You got your books with you? Let's read it together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبت وكل خطيئة أخطأتها اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفي بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزيني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانيا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك اللهم لا أجد لذنوب غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرعت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت، وكم من فاده من البلاء يقلت، وكم من إثار وقيت، وكم من مكروه دفعت، وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرت. اللهم عظم بلائي وعفرت بي سوء حالي، وقسرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني النفع بعد عملي، وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومثالي يا سيدي. فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملت في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رعوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك، أسأله كشف ضري والنذر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أحوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك والزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذئنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفصا نتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني وركة جلدي ودكة عظمي، يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري تربيتي وبري وتقضيتي، حبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضيا لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أقرب من أن تضيع من ربيت، أو تبعد من أدنيت، أو تشرد من آويت، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادها، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققا، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشية، وعلى جوارها سعت إلى أوتان تعبدك تاعية، وأشارت باستغفارك مذئنا ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك أنك يا كريم. يا ربي وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك ولا هو مكروه قليل مكثو يسير بقاؤه كثير مدته، فكيف احتمال لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أعذج وأبخي، لأليم العذاب وشدتي، أم لطول البلاء ومدتي. فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فحبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وحبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني نادك، لأزجن إليك بين أهلها زجيج العاملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين؟ أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين؟ أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين؟ يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاك تعمى ذابها بمعصيتي، وحبس بين أطباقها وجرمه وجريرته، وهو يذج إليك ذجيج معمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من هلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يعمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يهرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه؟ أم كيف يتكلكل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتكه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك، ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاهديك، وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملعها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالأنعام متقرما. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها، وبالقضية التي هتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته، وكل ذنب أذنبته، وكل قبيح أسررته، وكل جهل أملته كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني، وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جواري، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت، أو إحسان فضلت، أو بر نشرت، أو رزق بسطت، أو ذنب تغفره، أو خطأ تستره. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So we're now going to look at the A to Z of Islam. So you got to remember them. A is for Allah. Okay, B for best. C for charity. D for da'a. E for ethics. F for Furadin. G for gender. H for home. I for interfaith. J for justice. Okay, K for knowledge. L for lunar months, yeah. M for my favorite, Ma'asumin. N for Nur, O for obedience. And we've been looking at P for prophets. Now I was going to start looking at some of the prophets. But some of you have asked me to go over this mnemonic again. You said you want to look at it and you want me to go over it again. So I'll start again. So basically what this mnemonic is about is that what we're learning is the chronological order of the 28 prophets that are mentioned in the Qur'an. So we know them in order. Who came first and who came last? No, the first was Adam, the last was Muhammad. We know that. So now let's go over it again. As you have asked me, I've got so many texts from you asking me to go over it again. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So Adam and Idris, you remember that? Went to the NHS. What did the NHS signify? Nuh, Hud, Saleh. What did they do? They went to visit Ibrahim. So Adam, Idris, Nuh, Hud, Saleh, Ibrahim. Now, you can imagine they got to the door and Lut directed them, not in these times of COVID, huh? It's different. So Lut directed them, there's no visitors now, directed them to level II and room YY. So immediately you know II is Ismail and Ishaq. YY is Yaqub and Yusuf. And there they found Ayub and Shu'aib. So you can even believe at the end of this line, you can put AS, like alayhi salam, Ayub and Shu'aib. So we've got Adam, Idris, Nuh, Hud, Saleh, Ibrahim, Lut, Ismail, Ishaq, Yaqub, Yusuf, Ayub and Shu'aib. Okay, so that's your one sentence done. Now the second sentence. So Musa and Harun were also in level II. So here we have Musa and Harun, and in level II we have Ilyas and Ilyasa. Can you remember that? Musa and Harun, Ilyas and Ilyasa. They were fitting a DDU and a DSL, a direct dua unit and a direct salah line. And the direct dua unit stands for Dhul Kifl, Dhul Karnain and Uzair, and the direct salah line is Dawood, Sulaiman and Luqman. And they were with Yunus. And the reason why they were fitting it was that Zakaria and Yahya could contact Isa and Muhammad. Remember that? And you found that quite hard. So let's go over it again. Musa and Harun. Ilyas, Ilyasa. Okay, they were in level II. They're fitting a DDU and a DSL. You've got to remember these two words. DDU stands for Dhul Kifl, Dhul Karnain and Uzair. DSL, Dawood, Sulaiman and Luqman. It's quite easy. So they were there with Yunus so that Zakaria and Yahya, remember Yahya was Zakaria's son. Zakaria and Yahya could have a connection, could contact who? Isa and Muhammad. So hopefully now you know the 28 prophets in chronological order. You good with that? Okay, so next week, inshallah, we will start with Prophet Adam and we'll look at all the prophets as we go along. Now for the surah today, for Friday, I'd like to tell you some things that I think is quite important. So let's talk about this so we see what it's about. You see, I'll tell you two secrets for tomorrow morning. So say, for example, you've been waiting, like you think there is something I really want my prayer to be answered, something that I've been trying so hard and it's not working. So that's something that you can do. So we're told that before sunrise, before the sun rises, okay, so do you know what the time for Salah is tomorrow morning? I bet you've got a calendar that you can look at and you can tell me what is the time for Salah tomorrow morning. Any idea? So tomorrow is Friday and the time for Salah is? Yep, 6 minutes past 4. When is it, Qaza? I think it's 7:28 or 7:30. So let's look at 7:28. Before sunrise, you got to do this. You got to go into sajda, okay? And you got to recite Surah Al-Kafirun 10 times. And then ask Allah. Amazing, it works. But another thing that is recommended is that you recite Surah Al Rahmaan after Fajr Salah. And whenever you say, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, which of the favors of Allah do you deny? You should say, I deny none of your favors, Ya Rab. Recommended. The Prophet said, recite this and see the difference it makes in your life. Surah Al Rahmaan after Salatul Fajr. That is why we finished Surah Al Kahf and I'd like to look at Surah Al Rahmaan. But the first thing I'd like to look at is the benefits of recitation. So it's surah number 55. It's the only surah in the Quran that starts with an attribute of Allah. And what a beautiful one. Ar Rahmaan, the most amazingly compassionate, the extremely merciful. Cures eye problems, removes hypocrisy from the heart. And you can ask for forgiveness for whoever you want with this surah. An angel is appointed to look after you, keeps you safe. And I love this bit. And I'd written that down, so I picked it up. If you find there's lots of pests, like ants and things that you don't want in your house, write it on the wall. That's what you're told. If you write it on the wall, it keeps away pests. So write it and keep it. Keep it on your wall, hang it, and you'll find no pests will come inside your house. So, did you know what the Prophet said? He said, for everything there is a bride. I mean, something beautiful, starting a new life. And the bride of the Qur'an is Sura Al Rahmaan. He said there's only one chapter, and I've told you this before, it starts with an attribute of Allah, and it is this one which starts with Ar Rahman, and it addresses both human beings and the jinn, and it totally emphasizes the concept of gratitude. So 31 times, for بِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, which of the favors of your Rabb can you deny? 31 times he's telling us, be thankful, don't be ungrateful. You know what? When the content of the message and its teacher are flawless, and the students still don't learn, then there's a necessity of repetition and a clear description of consequences. I'll repeat that again. So when you find that the lesson is flawless, that means it's a really, really important lesson, and the teacher is teaching it so well, but the students are sort of not paying attention, then the teacher has to repeat it again and again and again. So Allah here is the flawless teacher. The message is gratitude. Be thankful. And He knows as human beings we're so ungrateful. He repeats it 31 times. And then He also tells us what happens if we don't do gratitude and what happens if we do. And the shortest verse in the Quran is in this surah. That's ayah number 64, where it says Mudhammatan. And we come to it or recite it. You say it with me? Mudhammatan. And that literally means densely shaded with dark green trees. So somebody asked, what is the focus of this surah? By the way, 78 ayat. It's a Madani surah. The focus is the manifestation of His compassion and care in the world and in the hereafter. See it all around us. And again, I repeat, the moment you think Surah Al Rahmaan, the emphasis is on thankfulness to Allah. Really, really important to emphasize that. Now, we've divided this into 5 sections, and today we're going to look at the first section. So the first section is the manifestation. That means how we see the compassion, the Ar-Rahman, the manifestation of Ar-Rahman. So if you've got your Qur'ans with you, or if you can remember it, it's only ayah 1 to 4. Recite it with me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. So let's talk about it. Ar-Rahman. You know the womb, a mom's tummy is known as womb, is known as Rahm. And Allah says, I named it after my attribute Ar-Rahman because it has all-encompassing care. You know, when a baby's in its mommy's tummy, the mom looks after that baby totally. There is nothing the baby needs outside of that womb. And He said, that's the sort of compassion I have. It's the closest thing to human comprehension, to extreme compassion. When you're feeling sad, when you're feeling hurt, just keep on repeating, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahman. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Now, how does it express itself? How does it manifest itself? He says, Allama al-Qur'an. The first thing Allah did was teach the Qur'an. Allama means over time. So over time, He taught you to reach your full potential. This book, my goodness, is just amazing. Then what did He do? Khalaqal insan. It's not chronological order. Khalaqal insan. He created the human being. In other words, human beings were created to know revelation, to know His book. Allamahul bayan. He taught the human being how to express himself. The Prophet said, a person lies under his tongue. The manifestation of the understanding of this book is through speech with compassion. Bayan is the ability to analyze. Kalam is speech. Bayan is analyze. So somebody who uses the word bayan as such is somebody who is able to think before he speaks. And the one who reflects Allah is the one who speaks with kindness. If you don't have kindness, you're not reflecting Rahmaniyat. So let's go over again. Ar-Rahman, the extremely compassionate. Over time, He taught you his book, His words, so that you may reach your full potential. He created the human being so he should know revelation. And he taught the human being to manifest this revelation through compassion, through bayan, through thinking before he speaks. So the lesson we learn from this is that we have no choice but to be able to manifest compassion, kindness, rahmaniyat. And the first way, or the major thing, the thing that we express it through is through our words. So what do we say? Think about what you say every day. It's a beautiful surah. So inshallah, tomorrow after Fajr, just recite the first 4 ayat. And slowly we will build up to reciting more of it. So what are you going to do? Recite the first 4 ayat of Sura Al Rahmaan after Salat al-Fajr. After Salat al-Fajr, you will also recite Surah Al-Kafirun 10 times, whether in sajda or otherwise, and ask Allah for whatever you want. Just ask Him. It's amazing how it works. And I'll just finish with one thing, because we talked about Ayatul Kursi. Imam Zain al-Abidin used to repeat Ayatul Kursi from early morning up to midday. Remember what my teacher taught me. And as soon as he finished any wajib salah on a Friday, he would recite Surah Al-Qadr. So Ayatul Kursi, Surah Al-Qadr, Surah Al-Kafirun 10 times after Fajr, and Surah Al Rahmaan. So inshallah I will see you again on the wiladat. Oh my goodness, we have a wiladat on Wednesday of it's the wiladat night. So I'll probably see you on Thursday. I'll see you next Thursday on the wiladat day of Imam Hassan al-Askari. What an amazing personality, and we'll talk about him. So let's end with the Surah Al-Fatiha for the marhumin, the dua for protection, and the ziyarah of Abba Abdullah. You ready? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Close your eyes, ask Allah to give the thawabs to all the marhumin, especially those of your family. Pray for those who are ill and pray for those who are in trouble. Let's recite the dua for protection. لي خمسة أطفي بها حر الوباء الحاتمة المصطفى والمرتضى وأبناهما والفاطمة. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر لحظ مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. في أمان الله الكريم. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم.